10 power shares, I'm guessing.
Good morning. It's 9 a.m. Monday, December 5th, 2022. This is the Muscatine County Board of Supervisors. I'd like to call the meeting to order. First is review the agenda.
Move to approve as presented.
Second.
Motion by Jeff, second by Nathan. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next is item with County Engineer Brian Horowski. Morning, Brian.
Good morning.
First item is bid letting for project L-FU-8-73-70, a twin 12-foot by 12-foot by 60-foot RCB culvert on 135th Street. Possible action to accept the bid.
Alrighty, we have 3 bids. We're gonna read the totals that are shown. We'll have to then crunch numbers. Bid items control, so we'll crunch numbers and check everything out. And yeah, like the line item said, potentially move forward with it today. If not, it'll be next week's. So the first is Boomerang Corp of Anamosa, Iowa. We have a signed bid bond. A proposal. With a total of $567,761.20. 567,761.20. Next up is Iowa Bridge and Culvert of Washington, Iowa. We have an Iowa DOT bid bond. Proposal. And this is again is Iowa Bridge and Culvert with a total of $488,827.58. 488,827.58. The third and final is Brandt Construction of Milan, Illinois. We have an Iowa DOT bid bond. Proposal of $728,118.95. 728,118.95. So, we will crunch the numbers. everyone that bid, thank you. Thank you for coming today and also putting in the work. Bid tab will get sent out either later today or sometime this week. So, thank you.
So do we need to take action to accept that for the four?
They'll crunch numbers and
Check the
come back to
numbers,
us.
if they check out, then if we're done, if it's before the end of the meeting, we can take action. If
Yes.
not, we'll
So,
have to wait till next.
I should review before, if any of these guys leave. The as read low was Iowa Bridge and
It
Culver.
was Iowa Bridge Culvert,
Yeah.
but I wanted to verify. For 488.
488, 827.58.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Back
Put it
it
away.
up, but, so.
All right.
Thanks again.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Next item is going to be a discussion of possible action to approve various utility permits.
Yes, so we have one utility permit today. It is from Eastern Iowa Light and Power, REC of Wilton, Iowa. It's a request for removing some poles and putting some lines underground, electric lines underground at 130th Street and Davis Ave. They've had some issues with people hitting their guy wires, so this is actually a really good thing that they're being proactive about and correcting.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Santos, second by Doug. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Anything other, Brian?
Yes, I wanted to give a little bit of a equipment update. Kind of same old song and dance. We were supposed to receive 2 motor graders, one at the end of November and one at the beginning of December. That has more or less come and gone. So we are now being told that it's going to be closer to the end of February, beginning of March for 2 motor graders. So it's just,
These are case, right?
no, these are cat.
These are cat.
Yes.
Pricing is still per contract.
Yes.
They haven't changed price.
No, not yet. But it's also far from delivered. So,
Okay.
it's getting to be pretty severe headache getting equipment. So, especially budgeting time of year, it's really tough knowing what year this equipment's going to show up and if it's going to show up.
Well,
So
they haven't canceled either of your machines yet, so
no.
that's
Some.
still good.
Brian, we weren't trading any of these in, right? The ones
Yes.
that we had, so we
Yep.
weren't
There was 2
trading-
machines that were going to get traded.
we're trading in, okay.
Yep. So, and we've talked to them about getting some extended warranties and, so we can continue to run the machines. Right now, they're parked as our spares in case, any of our kind of ones we use day in, day out were to break down or have anything serious happen to them. So we'll see what they come back with.
Good.
Okay, very good.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Next item is presentation and discussion on a request from the city of Muscatine for a $400,000 contribution commitment for the design and construction of an indoor sports complex in Muscatine with city administrator Carol Webb, park maintenance supervisor Nick Gow, finance director Nancy Lewick, and community grant writer Megan Custis. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you this morning?
Well, thank you.
Good. I don't know who can help me get that up. Is there I have the presentation.
Bill's here.
Bill's gonna help.
I have handouts to the presentation. Well, good morning, Chairman Sauer and Board Supervisors. So again, my name is Carol Webb. I'm the City Administrator for the City of Muscatine, and I have my team here representing Muscatine and the project. And we are here to request a funding commitment of $400,000 from the county for an indoor sports dome. Okay, so how do I start? Is it? I'm sorry.
No, you're all right. You're able to advance slides now.
Let me try. Yeah, there you go. And so one of the reasons we're here today to request funding from the county is that both city and Muscatine County youth and families will have access to and benefit from this facility. A little bit about the project background and purpose. The primary purpose of the project is to provide a high-quality indoor sports and recreation facility to meet demand for indoor sports opportunities in and around Muscatine, particularly in the cold months, because we do have those here in Iowa. Objectives include we want to provide a safe space to participate for all of our community members to participate in physical activity year-round, regardless of their income. We'd like to provide an ample, no or low-cost opportunities for youth and families in Muscatine County to participate. We want to provide high-quality parks and recreation experiences for our residents and visitors. And finally, we want to increase tourism in Muscatine to support the local economy and to generate new tax revenue. Okay, so my colleague Nick is going to present a few slides here today too.
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to be here. My name is Nick Gow. I'm the Superintendent of Parks for the City of Muscatine. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the what, the where, and the why. So as Carol talked about, our goal here is to provide an indoor sports complex for the Muscatine community. And the design and construction will include an indoor youth and adult sports facility with a synthetic field. It will be an air-supported structure, also known as an inflatable dome, and it will have a full-size synthetic turf field. Now we're going to get into more of the details about what some of the opportunities are on the multi-use facility here in a minute. It will also include a restroom facility down there. So we'll also talk about the where. And so as we go on to the next slide, a couple pictures I want to point out here. As you see, we've got on the top left corner a synthetic field with the dome facility out there. On this picture, you can see we've got soccer fields laid out there. There's also field football lines laid out there. But there's also multiple use facility opportunities for this dome facility. From soccer to football to baseball, baseball and softball facilities. But also the opportunity for large gathering spaces, social gathering, corporate outings. We have the ability to put down a surface protection to be able to host different events like car shows, craft shows, boat shows, farmers markets to flea markets out there. But also the opportunity for our local school district to come in and do activities from PE classes to after-school activities out there as well. So a multi-use facility is what we're looking for. And again, this will be a year-round facility. The bottom right picture is a picture of a dome facility similar to what we're looking at building there. So as I go on to the next slide here, we'll go to the where. Back in 2018, we built Soccer West, which is on the west side of Hauser Street. And when Soccer West was built, it was built with the idea of future expansion. And what our thoughts are is going into it, and I believe Santos was on the city council at the time when we did this. And our idea was, first and foremost, to provide additional parking for our soccer facility in Kent Stein Park, especially during our busy activities and busy events out there. We also had the opportunity to provide 4 additional grass fields at the time with the ability to expand that into synthetic fields in the future. So when we built Soccer West, we built it with the idea of let's provide a rough grade that's going to be able to eventually be built into synthetic fields, provide positive drainage out there, and we've already got the infrastructure of the parking lot in place at both the soccer complex, the new additional Soccer West parking lot, but also Kent Stein Park for additional parking needs when the facility at Kent Stein is not fully utilized. So this was the ideal location for us, given that we've already got the infrastructure in place. Just on the bottom right corner of the red dot, of the red square there, we do have our utility locations out there. So we build it in mind that for future expansion, we've already got our electrical in place. We do, thanks to Musco Lighting, we have the ability to have all 4 fields lit in this location. So we've already got the infrastructure when it comes to the electrical in place for future expansion to include a dome facility. All right, with that, I'm going to turn back over real quick to Carol, talk about strategic goals.
So I know, with the city council, before they, commit to this type of project, we talk about whether or not it aligns with their goals, their strategic goals. And looking at the county's website, I see you do have strategic goals identified, and this project aligns nicely with at least 3 goals, one of which is economic development, supporting the retention and growth of our local businesses to increase employment opportunities. The market research that was conducted, there was a feasibility study conducted, and it showed that this type of facility spin-off development happens. People come to the community, they bring their families with them, and they eat dinner and they stay overnight. And so this type of facility really helps support those kinds of things. It's a partnership. It would be a partnership with the city and the business community, the educational community, and other organizations within Muscatine that would be a part of both constructing and programming this facility. And finally, quality of life. This is one of the qualitative benefits that was identified in the market research, so this is verified research, that this type of facility helps promote the economic, physical, and social well-being of residents by encouraging self-sufficiency. Let's see, so facility access. I know this is a very important topic both to City Council and to the county, that we want this facility to be accessible for our residents and who may or may not have opportunities to participate in recreational activities and sports, particularly in those winter months. So we would develop a programming and fee structure that would be specifically geared towards supporting disadvantaged youth and families. We would offer free drop-in times, and not just 6 o'clock in the morning. It would be prime time hours that we would work to offer for Muscatine youth and families. We'd want to collaborate with nonprofits. We can offer scholarships, transportation, other things that they might need to support for people to be able to have access to the facility. Right now, the city's fairly restricted on what type of recreation programs we can offer because we do not have an indoor facility of our own where we can do these kinds of classes. And those recreation-based programs that the city operates we offer tuition assistance, we offer them free to families, and we could really expand those really recreation programs that the city offers with a facility like this. And then finally, according to the U.S. Census, we have about 7,800 youth in Muscatine County, 18 years and under, and approximately 1,600 of those don't live in the city. They live in the unincorporated parts of the county. And so this would provide access to those individuals at low or no cost to really be active especially in the winter months. Okay.
All right, and just to expand upon some of the recreation opportunities, this past weekend, Muscatine the Parks and Recreation Department just held our candy cane hunt down on the Muscatine riverfront. This year, we were fortunate to have some great weather, but in years past, we've had some bad weather out there and not been able to host an event like that. Indoor facility like this would be able to provide those same opportunities. This coming weekend, we have the Elves Workshop located out at the Muscatine Mall. How cool would it be to be able to use a brand new synthetic field structure out there to be able to provide those free activities for the youth of our community. We also host other events like Trunk or Treat, which was held down at Soccer West, again during bad weather, to be able to have that opportunity for an indoor facility to go out there and expand upon the usage and the opportunities. And then we also host a fall festival that again could be held within a large corporate space like this synthetic field out there, protected by the weather, and again provide that free and the free recreation usage to all those in the Muscatine community. All right, so some factors for success. City of Muscatine has had some great success with our local programs. Soccer complex brings in approximately 250,000 visitors a year for that facility. Kent Stein Park also brings in potentially up to 400,000 visitors into Muscatine on a yearly basis out there, or participants on a yearly basis out there. So there's already a success story within our athletic facilities. Now those are seasonal facilities out there. Our goal is to expand upon that and be able to provide year-round facilities out there. In doing some research and going back to the feasibility study that was done, we found that according to the U.S. Travel Association, for every participant, 3.2 visitors attend those events with that player. So again, the opportunity for economic growth, for bringing visitors into our community, and to be able to expand upon once they get to Muscatine, what's going to attract them back, and the quality facility will help do that. One thing we've also found is that, Muscatine is known for being a sports community out there. A lot of great success stories when it comes to players out there. I look back at the Joe Wieskamp and the Sophia Thomas stories out there. In order to be a successful athlete, these people need a place to practice and play year-round. Right now, we're seeing that a lot of people are having to travel up to 50 miles in order to find that indoor facility to be able to practice on. They're either going to Bettendorf, to Iowa City, to Burlington. What can we do to attract those people and keep them right here in Muscatine? Also, you have to be able to afford to go to places like Bettendorf and to Burlington where they pay in high rate fees. What can we do to provide a free or reduced program right here in Muscatine and help keep them here in Muscatine for the potential growth of their activity that they're participating in? All right. Yep. Bring it back where it's going.
So now the nuts and bolts. So the two primary costs associated with this, of course, the capital cost for design and construction. We have some conceptual cost estimates, and the estimate currently is $4 million to build the facility, design and construct it. The city, last Thursday at the city council meeting, council committed $600,000 of funding and also committed to operate and maintain the facility. We're working on other funding sources currently, which will include both private donations and grant funds. We're applying for a Destination Iowa grant and also to the Carver Trust. And then, of course, any use of county funds, should you choose to support this project today, would be contingent on commitments from those other funding sources. As far as operation and maintenance costs, we've done a costing analysis and estimated that the annual budget to operate and maintain the facility is about $280,000. That includes personnel. We want to make sure we have personnel dedicated to this facility to make sure that we optimize its use. And it includes, a variety of services, commodities, all of those things. The facility revenue would include, of course, direct facility usage fees, but we also plan to fund it in part with a hotel motel tax revenue and then other revenue sources such as sponsorships, advertising, concessions, those kinds of things. So all of that will go to support the operating budget. I would mention that we modeled the revenue based on a 50% utilization rate of the facility. We used the Burlington fee structure as a starting point. But we also wanted to make sure that we budgeted a little conservatively so that we could offer those open times for the public to participate. And finally, our Parks and Recreation Department, who manage these types of facilities and are experts in this area, will operate and maintain the complex. Project benefits. These, we kind of know these things intuitively, but they were also documented in the feasibility study that Muscatine County, the community of Muscatine, will benefit from direct spending on lodging, food, and beverage while visiting in Muscatine. And that economic output was estimated at about $3.8 million annually. We would see additional hotel motel tax revenue as well as sales tax revenue from the participation and the tourism that comes with a facility like this. And we would also have positive economic impacts one time from the construction of the facility. The qualitative community benefits, and is largely why a local government would operate something like this, is that a facility like this improves quality of life. It can serve as an anchor for revitalization because you get the spin-off development growth that happens around the facility. You get tourism, additional tourism to your community, and finally, we get that access. That access is the most important thing for our community and the Muscatine County youth and families.
So again, one of our ultimate goals with this is what can we do to attract not only the Muscatine residents, but Wilton residents, to West Liberty residents, to the Letts, to the L&M school district, to be able to stay here in Muscatine, participate in a free and reduced program here in Muscatine. We do work with the United Way's Kids First program to provide free and reduced opportunities out there for a recreation facility and recreational programs out there. So our ultimate goal is, let's keep people involved, let's keep them active, and let's give them the ability to stay active year-round. And that's what this facility is going to help to provide to our current athletic facilities that we do currently have in hand there. So year-round facility for anybody and everybody, and let's give them that equal opportunity to participate. All right, so our project timeline. We are working with a group called the Farley Group to put together the dome structure itself, and they will be in charge of the inflatable dome. They're going to be providing us with a complete set of drawings and specifications here in the next week. And so with that, we'll be able to go out and identify specific cost estimates for the installation of the entire facility. We're also working with a group called Field Turf to provide a synthetic field out there with the ability to provide a large open space that would be collegiate-sized soccer field. We don't have a lot of those in our area, and actually Bettendorf and Burlington are both smaller than a collegiate-sized field. In Burlington, the college down there actually has to get permission for the team that they're playing to be able to play on a smaller than regulation field. So we will be bigger than that. We will be a larger synthetic field, and as Carol said, we'll also be municipal. We'll have the ability to go out there and provide these opportunities at free and reduced cost to the local community users out there. In January, February, we will receive notice of the Destination Iowa grant that we are applying for. Come spring, summer of 2023, we will solicit an RFP for professional design services and develop the concept plan. So right now we are at the concept plan phase. What can we do to get more specific? And that'll come in the spring and summer of 23. We'll seek approval from the Muscatine City Council for plans and specifications, including performance bond. Spring, summer of 2024, we plan to begin construction on this facility with the ultimate goal of having the facility open the autumn, winter of 24. One thing we did find out in doing some research on it is that it is about a 40 to 45 week turnaround from the time that we order the dome until the dome would be in. So again, we're going to try to fast track this as quick as we can to get this moving forward. So next steps. At the end of the day today, we will be submitting a grant to the Carver Trust, asking for funding from them. We will also be seeking approval from the Iowa Destination Grant by the end of December, is that correct? Develop the Destination Iowa Grant, and again by December 31st, submitting that. Secure private funding prior to the submission of that grant, which we've been working on, and thanks to some local residents and some corporations for jumping in and helping with that. And if fully funded, utilize Parks and Recreation Commission on formatting, programming the facility with a special focus on opportunities for low income and disadvantaged youth. And again, that's one of our biggest goals with this entire project is what can we do to provide usage for the youth of our community.
And one thing I'd offer there too, if, we'd be happy to have a representative from the county participate in that work with the Parks and Rec Commission to develop that formatting and programming for the facility with a special eye to, what youth in unincorporated parts of the county as well as other cities within the county to help them participate. So with that, I'll come back to the request, a funding commitment of $400,000 to fund and design and construct the facility, and we'll take any questions.
Thank you for the presentation. I have a couple questions. What's the potential life of these domes?
So in working with the Farley Group, they do offer a 20-year warranty on the dome structure itself. On the synthetic field, we're seeing anywhere from 10 to 12 years for the life of the synthetic field, but that's outdoors. We're still investigating what an indoor synthetic field warranty would be. Given that you're not going to have the UV rays and the weather conditions, it's going to be a climate-controlled facility out there. We would expect to see a longer resilience of that synthetic field out there, and we're still investigating that.
Okay. Can you give me a breakdown of utility costs for a structure like this? I have no idea what something like this would be and how that's handled.
We we did look at this. There was a utility estimate in the feasibility study, but then we had MPW model it.
Sure.
Too. So we have, I think, pretty good costs for that. Do you have copies for everyone? Okay. May I approach the dais? There's that. And we're happy to get everybody copies if you'd like.
You guys anticipate any problems with traffic, with everything being right there on Hauser Street?
I don't. You know, we just held the trunk or treat down there, and we had, I believe it was 15 to 1,600 people attend that event down at Soccer West. We had adequate parking at Soccer for the people to park. We had our activity take place at Soccer West down there. We were able to get by with the traffic controls that we do have down there. The push buttons on Hauser Street helps to slow traffic down, and really was a non-factor when it came to that event down there. And that was a 2-hour period. We had 1,500 people crossing over Hauser Street with a successful program.
And I would mention that's a good example of a project because an event because people come from all over the county to go to that event. It's a safe place for kids to, trick or treat. And we had folks standing outside in the cold for a couple hours lining up before we even had the event. So that's the kind of thing that we could use this dome for.
Does the city, this looks like it was intended to pay for itself, which I like. Does the city have any kind of commitment or intention toward establishing a capital reserve fund for this?
I think we would do that. It would depend on the funding. So, if we were able to put some dollars into a capital account, but I think that's how we would sustain it over time.
Do you have any idea what would be required?
I'd have to ask Nancy if she knows. Nancy's our finance director. I think most of you know Nancy.
We really haven't done much research on that part of it at this point. But we do, as with any of our facilities, as part of our budget, departments do a 5-year projection on what their needs will be for the following 5 years.
Okay, so if it's got a 20-year life on the dome and a 10 to 12 on the field, maybe more, I mean, you're probably looking at $200,000 a year you'd want to put away, right? At current prices.
If it was possible to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'd like to know that this is gonna be not just self-funding, but self-sustaining if it turns out to be something that we like for the long term.
Yeah, and the assistance from the county that we're requesting is not for the ongoing costs.
Right.
It's only for
Sure,
the initial
sure, but
costs.
we don't wanna put money into something that after 5 years is gonna fall down, obviously.
And our city council also doesn't want that to happen.
I would assume. Is there any, and this isn't so much for Nancy, but one thing I would always like to see on that side of town is more amenities, not that someone who's gonna drive 50 miles here can't drive 5 miles to the other side of town for hotels and restaurants and the like, but is there been any discussion in terms of, either acquisition or designation of land to, even reservation of land for restaurants, amenities of this type that would serve people immediately there?
Well, there's some developable areas out there, and the one that comes to mind is the new Love's truck stop that's going in there. We upsized the sewer infrastructure there so that land on the other side of Love's is developable.
Okay.
So it's things like that we have done to kind of keep an eye to opportunities for growth. So I could see, anything in that area really, developing. And luckily we have some of the infrastructure, that will be available to do that.
I'm guessing with the shortened period of time that's been available to consider this, there hasn't been an opportunity for much of any kind of community inquiry in terms of what people would like to see, has there?
Well, this is in our capital plan, and we vetted that. We had a public hearing. We had all those kinds of things on the capital plan. So it's been part of our planning, and I know it's been in discussion in the city for many years. I haven't been around for many years, but I know that it's been a topic of discussion. So, we haven't specifically, but I do know where, in our process, as far as funding and bidding out, constructing this, there will be public process to that too. So,
Thank you.
You know, I understand now, Soccer West, I think, was developed as part of a larger CAT grant, a number of years ago, and it was really to address practice fields and some of that kind of stuff. So do you see this enhancing or detracting from kind of the original intent of Soccer West?
We do see it as enhancing. We have, through the feasibility study that was done, we did reach out to several of the organizations within the city of Muscatine or the community of Muscatine. Muscatine Soccer Club being one of them, community-wide. We've sought input from the Recreation Advisory Commission to also some of the baseball and softball groups out there to say, what would you like to see in a facility out there? How is this going to benefit you? And Soccer West was designed to be a practice facility. And I think this goes along the lines of that, being a free and reduced facility down there. Soccer West right now is reservation first, but then drop-in usage after that. So there is opportunity to stop in and drop in and use this at no charge at all. So a great amenity to the community of Muscatine and the ability to go out there and provide the year-round necessary facility that the community is looking for.
And then this would also be able to serve as like a football practice and some of that. I know that's always been a little bit of a challenge as they tear up the soccer fields a little bit.
Yeah, and that's really why our main focus was the synthetic field to begin with. Even prior to the dome facilities, back in 2012, and even Mayor Bark was on a committee back then when we had approached the Carver Trust and several others out there about putting 4 synthetic fields in across the road to provide extended use. I won't say year-round use because of the winters in Iowa, but at least extended use. We know that the synthetic fields are going to hold up better to practices for both soccer, football, baseball, and softball. That synthetic field would be a better usable and provide a longer time frame throughout the season to be utilized out there. So again, as we look back, we're looking at soccer, we're looking at baseball, softball, the football. We've got several youth programs run through the Parks and Recreation Department, like our blast ball programs, our t-ball programs out there, that again, we're able to provide with the assistance of United Way and their Kids First program, the opportunity at free and reduced activities out there. To expanding again to the car shows, the boat shows that could take place, farmers markets in inclement weather that could take place out there. So we'd be looking at putting down a protective cover to help protect the life and the time span of that synthetic field out there, but be able to bring in additional social gathering areas as well.
Nick, you mentioned your team's gonna be taking the fields and controlling this. How much more headcount are you anticipating for the city?
So we've built in a marketing person, a program person out there to go out and help market the facility, to also work with the usage groups and help schedule the facility. We've also built into our budget a 3/4 time athletic facilities specialist who's going to have to be trained on the air control units, be trained on proper synthetic turf maintenance. Everybody thinks that when you put in a synthetic field, it's maintenance free. I'll call it maintenance friendly, but there's a lot of maintenance that goes into making sure that it's properly groomed, making sure that it's properly cleaned, and making sure that it's safe for the user groups. A restroom facility, potential concession stand in this area as well are going to have to be cleaned, are going to have to be maintained. We've also built into the project, into the budget, seasonal staff, so providing opportunities year-round for the youth of our community. And we've struggled to get seasonal staff over the past few years, but being able to provide a year-round facility rather than just seasonal positions out there, I think is going to help attract seasonal workers to our Parks and Recreation Department.
Yeah, that information stated approximately $200,000 in additional staff costs, which I could see, and the estimated utility cost at $47,000 a year, which actually is a number less than I thought it might be. One thing, I've never been in one of these facilities, but in all the pictures I've looked at, I don't see spectators. How are spectators handled in a facility like this? Because I have no idea.
That was a question or concern that was brought up by the Muscatine City Council. In an indoor facility like this, similar to what's in Burlington, which ours would be a little bit larger size than the one in Burlington, the majority of the spectators are bringing in chairs. There's not a lot of capacity for seating, but there will be some built into the perimeter of the field itself. Now that's all going to depend on, all right, is this a large soccer field that's being used? Are these a couple of small fields being used at one time? Are they a couple of medium fields being used? So as we change the recreation program taking place, we'll also be able to adjust the seating. When that one large field is being utilized for, let's say, a collegiate game out there, there's not going to be a lot of seating built into it per our current concept plan. But again, I go back to, this is the concept plan that we have. We're also seeking input of what can we do to expand upon additional activities to take place, to additional amenities like seating, bleachers potentially, a restroom and concession facility out there. So as we build this program and build this plan into place, we're definitely going to take that into consideration.
Have you seen any facility, what I would have in my mind would be, some aluminum mobile structures. Have you seen anything like that at any of these other facilities? Is that, or am I off base on
No,
this?
I have not seen that. I've seen that through pictures at other facilities, as we're out doing some researching on these facilities where they have portable bleachers, they have portable team benches. They also have drop-down netting that's a potential out there to help separate out a small soccer field from a medium soccer field so you don't get the distraction of one ball crossing over to the next. Or the opportunity to have a social gathering on one side of the facility and still be able to use the other side of the facility for a recreation-based program. So there's a lot of different opportunities out there that we're still researching into, but the netting, the portable bleachers, the portable team benches are definitely something that we'll look at building into the program.
I think I look at it as a very good investment for the community. I think the program that you're looking at as far as, just given the demographics of just even the south side of Muscatine, looking at the opportunities of how you're trying to focus on the income, but also knowing that you still have to be having something sustainable is critical for us. I would rather be investing in something like this than spending $24 million that Scott County Board just approved last month on a detention center for youth. So to me, this is more of an investment. Looking at it long-term, and involved in, knowing that our team is also looking at mental health and looking at the success of what after-school programs do, knowing the benefits that come from something like this, I think is kind of critical, which I don't really see a lot of that in your benefits, but long-term, I think those are the things that you will see that probably should be captured because, we spend a lot of dollars in mental health, we spend a lot of programs in juvenile detentions or even the subjudicial that I think Nathan's on and the mental health board that Jeff's on as well too. So I think this is a small investment given the long-term benefits in my opinion. So I'd like to make sure that I share those things, and if we can find a way that we can fund it, obviously we would look at budgeting this next year, but I think I would be in for this.
When would the money actually have to change hands? When would we have to pay you?
That can be determined based on the entity's needs. What I think they need this month is the funding commitment. So all that has to be packaged with the grant application.
So this is for the destination. We need to commit so we can have the destination Iowa be able to then say that, hey, that we've
But as
given
far as
the 50%, or I don't know what it is, that percentage.
75.
So, okay.
Yeah, so as far as paying the funds, that the city can cash flow it, but it would not be this fiscal year for sure.
Thank you.
So it could, Nancy, could it then be over the next 2 years? Could we like give 223 and 224?
We could do that, yes.
Well, that'd be easier for us in that aspect of it.
Yeah, well, it all becomes at a cost, right? So you have to finance it at some point. And so, yeah, I think that would be
Just
something
from our
that,
perspective,
that
from
we
a
would
county
have to look
standpoint,
at,
I think
yeah.
we'd look at it.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
You gotta
I-
figure out where do the dollars come from.
It seems to me like this is a very good opportunity. My one concern in terms of doing our duty to the taxpayers of the county is this sets up the city with a revenue stream. Obviously, hopefully, most of that will be
Sustainable.
to sustain, you know, to fund it and to create a capital reserve fund. But there's a $400,000 opportunity cost. However, we get the money to the taxpayers of the county. And is the city willing to, over time, remunerate the county for its contribution from any excess revenues that might be there?
We are not expecting any excess revenues. And the city is putting in the 600,000 upfront, and with the request from the county for the 400,000. So,
So no.
okay, I'm trying not to say no, but
That's fair. You don't have to be diplomatic with me. I'm just looking for an answer.
I think certainly the priority would be excess revenue would go in a capital reserve, because we don't want to burden taxpayers further down the road with a big capital cost. So that would be the priority. While we've been able to cost this out in a way that it can be self-supporting, that we're not going to make loads of dollars. In fact, we'd probably adjust our rate structure if that were the case to make even improve access. It's not intended to be a moneymaker by any means for the city.
Well, I also understand there'd be some, hopefully, more than simply nominal impact to the hotel motel tax revenues. What are you anticipating those to be, and what are you anticipating doing with those?
So we estimated, I think, around 30,000 in hotel and motel tax revenue. Frankly, I think that's a little conservative, depending on how popular this is. But in order to make this break even, essentially, the county or the city is committing $50,000 of hotel motel tax revenue to it annually. Okay. So we're going even beyond what we think this will generate, because it's an important project for our community. Okay. Yeah.
I have a little question, maybe this is for Nick, as I think through some of the other cities in the county and how they program youth sports, do we know what kind of facilities and what kind of access there is in West Liberty, Wilton, and those for like indoor practice fields? I get we live in Iowa, and the advantage of having indoor facilities, big, large spaces for some of the more difficult sports. Do we know what it looks like and what they're doing, for example, in West Liberty? I don't know the Parks and Rec structure in Wilton and West Liberty probably as well as I should.
I'm not real sure on their structure either right now. I can tell you that the Muscatine Parks and Recreation Department takes advantage of the community school districts' indoor facilities when we can get access to them. We do volleyball in there. We do some of our indoor activities in there. So we are trying to take advantage of some of that. But we also are having to use facilities like Pearl City Station, like Riverview Center, for some of our activities. We're doing a lot of our activities outdoors, and weather becomes an impact when it comes to those activities. What can we do to move those inside? And, what can we do to work with the city of Wilton, the city of West Liberty, to help provide them opportunities to utilize this facility as well?
I'll just share a little personal story. My husband is a teacher at L&M, and every weekend, I think the superintendent sends a note to robocall kind of thing. And last night, it talked about the constraints on the space in the L&M school and how difficult it was. Their gym is too small, right? So even just supporting those kinds of things with L&M and other surrounding schools are there opportunities to share this space in a way that may delay or eliminate the need for a capital project. So are those kinds of benefits, I think, that we can work with other school districts to ensure that this facility is serving all county residents, not just Muscatine, City of Muscatine residents.
I really like this idea. I think that this structure can really become a destination for a tremendous amount of activities. And I think the potential for growth on this hub of what this is, if it's managed correctly, I think it could be outstanding.
Like you line it up with our campgrounds.
There you go.
Today's youth are gonna be our future leaders,
they can be
so
camping.
giving them something to do is good.
So,
So do we need we're not, make a motion, we just need to have a consensus?
We're not
Nancy?
really on for action, I think it's.
No, it's
really
not, it's not on
consensus.
for action. What I anticipated at the end of this would be for you guys to ask us to come back next week with possible funding, options for,
yeah.
Which we can budget for next year, but
right.
But we
There was
really,
a-
what they need is a commitment
Yep.
letter by December 15th.
Yep. And
It looks like you have council action on the 15th of December for the formal commitment for the grant, right? Grant's
Yes,
gotta be in
that's right.
31st.
Yep.
So we need all the funding commitment letters from the bodies by December 31st, if that's what we're gonna do.
I think we're looking at submitting the grant maybe the 27th. Is that right? We don't want to wait right until the 31st, but near the end of December. So, our council, they only meet one more time for a regular meeting. So that's why they're doing it December 15th. But I think if a later date works better for your schedule, that's okay too.
2 more meetings.
we have 2 more meetings, and since we're not looking to fund it yet this fiscal year with unbudgeted dollars, we don't have to go through the public hearing process. We'll just come back to you next week with some different funding options, and then
Yeah.
okay.
you can potentially make a decision and we can get the letter done, or we could push it over to the next week if you had more information that you wanted us to get.
Assuming we can make it work, I like it.
Yeah, so I think that makes sense to have staff put together a funding proposal.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for all the work.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate
Thank you.
your efforts.
Thanks for coming today, Bob. Although I would like also to see in that funding proposal what our opportunity costs are, what we might be giving up, or at least in terms of priorities. Thanks, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Next is review a special use permit granted by the Muscatine County Board of Adjustment at their December 2nd, 2022 meeting with Planning and Zoning Administrator Eric Furnace. Good morning, Gary.
Morning, pretty simple, straightforward. This morning, there was one special use permit granted by the Board of Adjustment last Friday to Cook Angus Farms, Dennis and Susan Cook, kind of down towards Letts. It's west of south end of Echo Avenue. It's a farm property with a large recreational pond, and they had petitioned to be able to build a seasonal recreational cottage on their property, so that was granted. So that's all I have this morning.
Okay, thank you. Next is discussion and possible action to approve the minutes of the November 28th, 2022 regular meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
I got a motion by Santos, a second by Jeff. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Correspondence. Jeff, do you have any correspondence?
Oh, I had a bunch of stuff this week, fun week. I had some correspondence on the sports complex. Also, we got Jim Irwin with the Mississippi Valley Workforce Board reached out to us. They're trying to set up a meeting and get with Nathan, Nancy, and probably Kayla. I'm thinking Nancy and Kayla are the right attendees. It
Maybe
has to
Danny,
do
too.
with the grant recipient language, so we'll see what that is. And then we were forwarded a letter from an email from the mayor on an action that the DNR took on a county business down by down on Pettibone Avenue, and that I was unaware of. Eric's done a little research, and I think he sent some information, so that was it for me for correspondence.
Nate?
Largely the same things. I think part of Irwin's thing also was the serving as the employer of record. Is that also part of the money you got from him?
I don't know exactly what
I
the
think,
request is.
from the way the email read, I think they were, since we already serve as employer of record, they want to explore the possibility of us us also becoming the grant recipient.
That's what I believe the conversation is that they want us to be a grant recipient, which is a whole different world.
Right.
So,
You might want to bring in Dan.
for the workforce board, because again, you know, if you remember the reorganization of that a number of years ago, the community colleges used to manage it, and then they said,
Yeah, we're the ones
the
managing
feds say you can't do it. So now it has to be, it's a volunteer-led and run organization essentially, designed based on federal structure. Well, but then they have these requirements around fiscal agents and, you know, employers of record, and you really didn't, you know, like a volunteer group board doesn't have the ability to hire a director. So we agreed and have served as the employer of record for the director and probably now one other staff,
Two.
right? So 2 staff people now.
Been doing that for
Well,
many
3
years.
altogether.
And now, and I think originally the fiscal agent was the Regional Planning Commission, Southeastern Iowa Regional Planning, and I don't believe they're doing that anymore.
No, it's now,
So some other organization that I'm unaware of is now doing that. Now Southeastern Iowa Planning, Regional Planning would certainly be capable of being a grant recipient, because that's kind of what they do. It's a council of governments. But if they're no longer in the picture, who would do that? And then, you know, I think this board would have to think real long about whether we would choose to do that or not. Because then we open Muscatine County taxpayers up to, potential liability if the grant funding is not adequately or properly administered. That would be my concern, is what
We're already
liability we
managing
open.
them now.
No, with managing the
all
we're
we're
just
doing is
employees.
employer of record.
It's
They,
just employer of record.
they send me timesheets every week. We issue payroll checks to them and, you know, pay the
I
taxes.
kind of view
That's a
this,
little yeah, that's.
if you recall
Level.
the meeting a couple of weeks ago where the Historic Preservation Commission asked us to do something very similar. And it was because their current provider, which is the Community Foundation, wanted additional fees.
To charge them more, yeah.
Because of the extra work that's involved in becoming a grant recipient. So it would be staff time for us and liability, and I think we have to think long and hard whether that's something we're interested in.
Yeah, we need a lot more information
Yeah.
about what it entails.
Okay, so that's a lot more information now. So-
Now,
It just adds more cost.
So
and risk.
Jim is attempting to get a meeting scheduled,
Next week.
next week sometime to discuss this, so.
I would recommend we also get Danny in on that.
Yeah, Danny just went through that training, and I think it'd be good to, if he, I think Jim gave us 2 or 3 dates.
Yep.
13th, 14th, 16th,
Yeah.
something like that.
Okay.
So that's what I had in terms of correspondence.
Okay. My correspondence was the same information with the DNR and sports complex information. Santos?
I had the same thing on that, other than, I think the emails that we had for the, state auditor thing that we needed to do for meetings. That was the only other thing I had.
Okay. Doug?
All the same.
All the same. Very good. Committee reports, Jeff?
On the 29th, I attended the WMA open house in West Branch. And then on the 12/1, I had the State Mental Health and Disability Services monthly meeting. That was it.
Okay. Nathan?
On the 30th, we had a Mississippi Valley Workforce Authority Board Finance Committee meeting.
Say that real fast.
Nope. Finance Committee. That's it.
All right. I had nothing. Santos?
I had on the Monday, I think it was the 28th. Yeah, I had a public health, league meeting.
Very good. Doug, anything?
None.
Nothing? Okay, thank you. Next is items with the administration office. Action authorizing the chair to sign the certification statement for the Muscatine County FY 21-22 cost allocation plan, available for review in the administration office.
So this is a plan that's done each year. It figures out how much of our indirect costs can be charged back to DHS for us housing them and such.
About 23,000
It's somewhere around there, yeah.
So moved.
typically. Second.
I've got a motion by Nathan, second by Jeff. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion passes. Anything other, Nancy?
No, I don't have anything else.
Thank you so much. Receive information from county employees. Do I have any county employees that wish to address the board? Brian?
Yes, was able to crunch the numbers on the letting from earlier in the meeting today. And the as-read low still stands. So it is Iowa Bridge and Culvert of Washington, Iowa. At
So then I'll move that we accept the bid from Iowa Bridge and Culvert for 488,827.58.
Second.
I've got a motion by Jeff, a second by Doug. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Brian.
Uh,
You're a lot faster
Eric?
than Keith was.
Damn.
Kevin zinged him and he didn't even hear it.
Just wanted to give a quick update, a little follow-up on the mention of the WMA board meeting last week. I know Danny and Kurt were able to attend also with Jeff. We kind of gave a rollout of the comprehensive watershed management plan. I think I was pretty impressed with the work that was done on it. It looks really good. Identifies a lot of areas, a lot of potential projects. We're working with our new administrative employee for the watershed. Will be East Central Iowa Council of Governments. Will be our planning administrative employee, running our meetings, doing our administrative work, doing the grant writing. Then Heartland Co-op was selected to contract as our actual watershed coordinator. They were both in attendance. Our executive committee will meet this week. We're kind of fleshing out, make sure everybody's clear on their responsibilities. One thing I just did want to bring to your attention, just last week I was made aware, up until then I was not aware, the city of Durant had applied for an IDOLS grant for a wetland water filtration area to help treat stormwater runoff prior to it entering Mud Creek, which lays directly to the south of the city of Durant. That section just south of Durant of Mud Creek, very windy, heavily eroded stream banks. Mud Creek was identified in our plans. We did water sampling there, a lot of issues. This is exactly the kind of project that I wish we would have known about. I didn't know about it until Friday. I reached out to their economic development person who was in charge of the grant. We just missed being able to write them a support letter for this IDOLS grant, but they made it through the first round of reviews, so we're certainly going to partner with them. These are the types of opportunities where the WMAs can really step in. Apparently maybe they didn't know about us either. So we're going to put them in contact with our on-the-ground coordinator with Heartland. And this is the type of thing that sets itself up really well for additional funding, because there's additional things that could be done on that section of Mud Creek. They're taking step one, so there are lots of good things coming. It's been a long time coming with the COVID delays and getting the sport off the ground. But
It's kind of interesting because I got Ken Beck, Chair of Scott County Board, called me last week and we had a discussion about this board. And, we know that the supervisor that was assigned from Scott County hadn't participated a lot up there. And he'd asked me, kind of whether that was, I asked him to call you because I didn't have good feedback. But that's a perfect classic example why it's important that as an elected official, we participate in these groups so that we don't let misses like this happen. Because again, if that WMA was supporting behind that grant opportunity, and now we have because Mud Creek was, they have some really great data. I would encourage everybody, I don't know if that presentation is,
I can get it.
if we have it, but there was some really interesting slides. They have a lot of detail and a lot of engineering data about, highly erosive, whether what the issues are in all of our watersheds. And it was very, very interesting, a lot of data.
Yeah, I'm finding that the more the local entity, we have between 20 and 30 entities that supposedly signed on as part of the WMA.
I think 20 of the 29 eligible.
Right, but, there's really kind of a small number that are really vested in participating in this, and I'm gonna try to stay very involved, because when we find out, we know our constituents, we know our landowners, we know our local issues. We got a couple of our areas in this, this, even though it's just a lower cedar, this is a large watershed that goes way outside of Muscatine County, but we're on the map, per se, within this plan, and it's gonna be my goal to keep us on the map and keep pushing some of our projects for funding, and just by having staff involved on that, being a voice, getting Emery from, the guys, Emery from Heartland, in contact with our local conservation people, our local farmers, see what if we can be in the front of the line when it comes to eligible projects.
Cause they identified like 4 sub areas, right, that were high priority.
Yeah, well, Pike Creek was.
Pike Run was one of them.
Yeah, Pike Run area, and that was, we had opportunities in the very beginning to go online, take a survey. I made sure I did that multiple times. And there was other participating, a handful of citizens that actually identified that as well. So that is one of the top 4 in our plan to look at, because it's a very unique ecosystem out there. So that's on there, but Mud Creek certainly is.
Mud
because
Creek was
we're-
one on the list.
So, I'm gonna try to get Heartland and, Jan Fensel from EC Cog. We've encouraged them to come first and introduce themselves to the boards of like Cedar County, Muscatine County, because those are 2 counties that contribute a significant amount of ARPA dollars. Introduce themselves and their agencies, so we're gonna try to get them, probably after the first of the year, sometime to come down and tell you a little bit about themselves and what they'll be doing on behalf of the WMA.
Don Smith is now doing economic development.
Right.
So I saw she was at the meeting, so maybe Don picked up on it.
And I didn't even know about this at the meeting, so I get a chance to talk to her. We've been playing phone tag since Friday, but she is now aware of our WMA. We'll be getting a support letter out to Durant for that. Hopefully, Emery will be able to collaborate with that project and get grant money almost immediately coming to Muscatine County as part of this. Just an update.
Good.
Thanks, Eric, appreciate it. Any other county employees wish to address the board? Keith?
Yeah, looking at the calendar, there's only a couple board meetings left in the year. I wanted to take a couple moments to cover a couple things. First, I'd like to thank the board for letting me work for this county for 24 years. It's been a good run. I want to acknowledge my staff at the road department. I've hired almost all of them and have some excellent people out there. I'm not gonna try and call them all out. I'm only gonna call out one, which is Dennis Michael, who's been my #1 assistant for most of those years and has done a fantastic job for this county. And I wanna acknowledge that you've made the very best choice that you possibly could for your next county engineer. Brian will do an excellent job for you, and I hope you all support him as you always have myself in the past. That's all I got.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you, Keith. Thanks, Keith.
Any other county employees wish to address the board at this time? Seeing none. Receive comments from the public. Do I have anyone from the public that would like to address the board at this time? Seeing no one come forward, it is 10:07, and we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.